No punishment means no respect for laws, for lawmen, or for the lawgiver, God. No punishment means no respect for laws. America's reached a surprising place for us in history where we never thought we would be. An entire political party has a total disdain for the law. An entire political party has total disdain for the law. All humanists have a total disdain for our law. All secularists have a total disdain for our law. All socialists, as you will see, have a total disdain for our law. You see, it's quite simple. No punishment means no respect. An atheist billionaire began paying millions of dollars in order to elect prosecutors who will not prosecute evil. They will not prosecute evil people. They will prosecute only people who push God's law. They will prosecute 501c3s that have righteousness as their goal. They will prosecute NGOs that have godly rules as what they're trying to do. They will prosecute parents who want Christian educations in the school for the education of their kids. They will prosecute grandparents who go and pray outside anti-abortion at clinics. And they will prosecute only evil. You see, when there's no punishment, it means there's no respect for law. Imagine a political party against our Constitution and against our Declaration of Independence. No punishment means there is no respect. Judges who exercise their limits, exceed their limits, and they push their jurisdiction far beyond where it was meant to go. And since there's no punishment, there is no respect for the law. People who have disrespect for policemen, cut their salaries, attack them in every single way, write rules and regulations against them to where the policemen do not want to do anything. Imagine cashless bail to get out of jail. You do something wrong, you stand before a judge, there's no bail, and you walk out the door. You're gone outside the door while the policeman is still writing his written reports in the courts before he can go home. When there's no punishment, there is no respect for the law. Imagine laws that are designed that allow people to steal $1,000 worth of stuff from a store. All of the products of that store are behind plastic shields and you can't see them or get to them. These stores in ghetto areas where they're needed are closed down and pulled out because they cannot exist without making a profit. That's what the text is talking about. No punishment means no respect for the law, for lawmen, or for the giver of law, our God. That's the way it is in America today. And that's the way it was in David's day. And the king said to Joab, "Go therefore and bring the young man Absalom to me." Listen to what Absalom says. Today I know that I have found grace. I like King James Version. I have found grace in thy sight, in that thou hast greeted me and given me what I desire. Grace without justice is disgrace. Mercy without justice is not merciful. And that's what we see going on in David in the text. And Joab arose and he went to Geshur. Now remember Geshur, that was that city. It means a bridge between 2 points. And Absalom went there at a point in his life where as a young man he tried to defend his sister's honor and he murdered a man. And he comes out at a point where he has no respect for any law at all except himself, because this was the point of no return for him. You see, when you have no punishment, you have no respect. And Absalom came back with no respect. This was his hour of decision, and he decided for himself. He didn't decide for his God. Notice verse 24. And David says, let him go to his own house and not see my face. He can return, but he cannot return to the palace. He can return, but he cannot return to the parties that all the kings throw and all the wild times that people have. He can return, but he cannot return to any punishment because he's not getting punished for any of what he did. And you see, when there's no punishment, there's no respect for the law. And it describes what Absalom was like. He was a man who had no blemish. The crown of his head to the soles of his feet, no blemish. I heard that Tony Curtis, the movie actor, if he had a blemish on his face, he would not go out of his house for weeks at a time because nobody could see him with a blemish. Here was a man who had no blemish, none at all. He had no blemish. He was noticeable because his hair was long, it was thick, it was rich, it grew, and when he cut it, it weighed 200 shekels of weight every single year. This was a man who had no blemish, and everybody looked at him, and everybody noticed him, and everybody thought, this guy is really, really handsome. He is one who's got it all. He had 3 sons, and they were the most perfect family in Israel. They were the most beautiful group of kids that you could find anywhere in Israel. Everybody looked at them and they oohed and they awed and they, wow, look at them. And he had a daughter named Tamar, and she was the most beautiful girl. She was fair of countenance. And you see, we're taking a judgment now. Can pretty people get away with things? Because they're pretty, can Hollywood get away with a lot of stuff? Because they're pretty, can a lot of politicians get away with a lot of stuff? Because they're pretty, can a lot of models get away with a lot of stuff? And David looked at this young man, he looked at the family, he looked at the kids, and David just absolutely loved this son. He absolutely gave his heart and cared for this kid who had murdered his brother. And Absalom dwelled 2 full years in his house in Jerusalem, and he never ever saw the palace. And he never ever saw King David. He was bound in his house, and he did not get to the court. And so it says in verse 29, he sent for Joab, his gopher, his do-it-all. He sent for Joab, and he said, come to my house. Joab didn't come. A second time he sent to Joab and he said, come to my house. And I think Joab, because he was raised in the older generation, Joab had limits. Joab knew right from wrong. He loved Absalom. He wanted to support Absalom, but he really knew right from wrong. And Joab had limits. And when he said, come to my house, he didn't want to go to his house. He didn't want to go talk to him because he knew that punishment, lack of punishment, no punishment means no respect. And I think he sensed this in Absalom. And so Absalom therefore said to his servants, he said, barley is ripe, the fields are ripe, it's the season early in the spring when the barley is ripe, and we have fields that are close to Joab's fields. What I'd like you to do is go out there and burn his fields down. We all know that Samson caught 40 wolves, 40 foxes. He tied their tails together. He took burning torches and stuck it in the tails, and he let the foxes go. They ran into the Philistines' fields, and they burned the fields down. Everybody heard that story? That, when you burn down the fields of an agrarian people, that catches their attention. You have destroyed their gross national product. You have destroyed their profit. You have destroyed what they have. And so, Joab watched his field burn, saw what was going on, and I like the next verse. Verse 31. And Joab arose. You stand there and watch your field burning and it gets you moving. He arose and he came right to Absalom's house. He knew exactly what happened. He knew exactly who did it because he knew that no punishment means no respect for the law. No respect for lawmen. No respect for the giver of the law, who is God. And he said, wherefore have thy servants set my fields on fire? Why do you do it? He knew why he did it. And he knew that he could do it. It's interesting because this tells a basic truth about life and a basic truth about Christianity. I went to a conference, a men's conference once. It was a weekend retreat at Via de Cristo. And one of the speakers was speaking, and he said, if you want to see what kind of a Christian somebody is, take a look at their checkbook. If you really want to see where their heart is, where their belief is, and what they're doing, take a look at the checkbook and where and how they spend their money, and you will see what the love of their life really is. And I'm sitting there listening to this layman, and it made sense. You touch his money, you touch his heart. You touch his money, you touch his life. And here's Joab, and his money's been touched. And he's sitting there, smell of smoke, the singe of his field. He's sitting there. And suddenly, somebody's speaking to where he is. And Absalom says to Joab, behold, I sent thee word to come to me, and thou didst not come. I sent word to thee a second time, come to me, and thou didst not come. Why did you bring me from Geshur? Why did you bring me from there to here? Why in the world did you bring me from Geshur, if not to see the king? Why did you bring me from Geshur, if not that I could go to the palaces, if I could go to the parties, if I could be a part of the political intrigue, I could be a part of the dynamics of what's happening in the country? Why did you bring me here if it's not that I could be a part of what is going on? Why did you bring me here? I want to tell you something. I came back for position and power. I might as well stayed in Geshur where I was playing golf every day. Well, I was doing absolutely nothing. Where I was there as the guest of the king and doing absolutely nothing. Have you noticed that when somebody is not punished, not only are they not respectful of God's law, but they are not thankful? Have you noticed there's something really missing in this man's attitude? And what's missing is thankfulness that he evaded getting killed, that he evaded a really difficult time, that he evaded all the problems. Therefore, says Absalom, now he's the one who's dictating. Therefore, let me see the king. And if I be in trouble, if I be in iniquity, he will tell me. And if I am not, I will be fine. Notice, he wants to know what's going on. He wants to become active once again. And so Joab went to the king and he said, your son Absalom would like to see you. And David's heart started to thump. And David's heart started to pump. And David's brain started to bump because he wasn't thinking clear. And he took and he invited Absalom to come to him. And Absalom threw himself at David's feet. David walked over, grabbed him by the hand, lifted him up, hugged him, and kissed him on both cheeks. A full European embrasso. Both cheeks. Loved him. David had brought him back in good graces. David had brought him back. I want to remind you what this text is all about. No punishment means no respect. No respect for the laws. No respect for the lawmen. And no respect for the giver of the law, who is God. And America is at a point where they are trying to decide, will there be punishment for those who have broken our legal system, for those who have used our legal system? Will there be punishment from them against them who have misused and abused our legal system, or will they continue with their lawfare and their warfare through the law as they have for the past 5 years? America is at a breaking point. She is at an hour of decision, just like David and Absalom were in the text. Will you rise to the Aaronic benediction?